So welcome to the first inaugural FLY. Let's give it up. Okay, so here's what's going to happen tonight. We have 8 storytellers that are going to come up here and tell their stories. Each one is 5 minutes long. Okay, they have a little bit of leeway. We have a little time. We have a timer. When the timer goes off, it'll be a little beep sound, and they'll have an extra minute just to kind of finish up their story. And really, honestly, we're going to give them as much time as they need. But if it's 45 minutes, they're out. Up here is a QR code. So if you get excited about what you saw here tonight, that will link you to an email to me, and you can vote. You can get on the next thing, which is going to be the theme for our next show is going to be Out of Bounds. I will remind you that at the end. But right now, the theme tonight is miracles. Okay, so we're going to be talking about miracles, and they're going to be a wide variety of miracles. What will happen is we have 5 words that we've asked each of our performers to put up here. The 5 words are sort of anchor points in their story, and they'll be projected up there on the top of that thing there. And for our storytellers, they'll be right here on the iPad so you can see them as well. I will be needing that just to make sure that I remember each part of my story. And what else do I need to tell you? I think that's it. Yes, David has a question.
Do we vote on anyone at the end, or we just appreciate what's done?
So Todd wants to vote. David, I don't know. We could do that. We'll see. A round of applause. But let's start by. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I have no idea. We'll figure it out. Hey, it's the first inaugural. Work with me. The next time it'll be even more put together. So I'm going to start. I'm going to put my my words up on the screen, and then I will get started. Yeah. Is this any better? Is this better, or is it still not good? I don't want to put it right in my mouth. Okay. This is as loud as it goes. This is as loud as it goes. Okay. All right. All right. Hold on a second here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so this is a story about Issa's birth. Issa's right here. So it was 2006, and Justine and I were in Boston my wife Justine and I were in Boston visiting my parents, and she turned to me and said, I'm pregnant. Now, this was a surprise to me, and I wasn't particularly thrilled about it, honestly. So just to set the stage, okay, Justine came from a three-kid family, right? And her brother and her sister, they both had 3 kids. Now, I came from a 2-kid family. 2 kids, that works for me. 4. Think of that number, 4, right? 4 is easy. You get 4 people in a car, no problem, right? You get 4 people at a restaurant table. They just sit 4 top, makes sense. 4 people at a hotel room where each one can have this 2 beds, and 2 in 2 beds, and 2 in another bed, and that's perfect. 4 works if you want to divide and conquer. One parent takes both kids, or one parent takes one and the other one takes the other. It just makes sense. 4 works. 5 people in the family, it's a little harder. So, what did I want to say next? So the problem was that the fates were against me, and the fates actually decided that I was going to have another child. All right. So let me just tell you. You know what? I'm gonna cheat because there's one thing. I forget. There's one thing I want to say. Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. So we already had 2 boys, right? We have Cody and we had Kyle. They were about 5. There's Kyle right here. Yeah, they were 5 and 3 at the time. And I remember, for those of you in Mill Valley, I remember we were sitting at Vasco, and I was sitting there at a restaurant, and my wife and I were having dinner together. We had a babysitter, and there in front of us, in the next table over, was a family of 4. There was 2 teenage boys and their parents, and I thought, wow, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. But not so much. That's not what happened. So, sorry. Okay, exactly. All right, it's supposed to be without notes, but whatever. Okay, so again, the fates were against us. So it all started one night when my wife Justine and I went out for a night out, and let's just say she was wearing these boots, and let's just say we call them Issa boots. I'll let that sink in. So, I just want to tell you a little bit about my wife. She is a superhero. Okay. We had 3 kids, and they were all with natural birth. Our first son, Cody, the plan was to go to a birthing center in Pleasanton. So the idea was that we had to, get in the car and go to Pleasanton. There was going to be a doctor for me and a midwife for her. All right, that was going to work. Of course, it was kind of like a bad sitcom. She decided to have the baby at 5 o'clock on a Friday. So I was weaving through traffic, trying to get to Pleasanton at the right time. I got pulled over twice by 2 police officers. They neither gave me a ticket nor a police escort. I was hoping for the police escort, but we made it. We got there. Cody was born. Great. Then it came to Kyle. The plan was to have our Kyle at home in our house, and it didn't work out again. Justine got a uterine infection, and we had to rush to the hospital because she had 105 fever. So she got the antibiotics, and then, of course, because she's a superhero, no drugs, had the baby, bam, right? So Issa was going to be born at home, damn it. It was going to happen, right? Regardless of what it was going to do to my family. We're going to have another kid. My friend Dave was the first one to congratulate me because he said, congratulations, Gary, now you have 3 tuitions and a wedding. Great. So the day came. Justine, she came into the room. She was sleeping. I was sleeping in one room. She was in another because she had her belly was so huge. She was so uncomfortable turning and tossing. So I slept in the guest room. She came in at 4 a.m. and she said my water broke. And I said, "Okay, are we ready to go?" And she said, "No, I think we're okay." Well, we waited for a few hours and nothing happened, so we both went back to bed. And I'm sure she'll tell me later how I messed the story up. But anyway, but the next morning, the plan was to go with my sister Jillian, who's right there, and to go and get to take the boys for a walk until things started progressing. And they didn't progress that much until suddenly at 9 o'clock when my sister showed up, she started having contractions. So we sent the boys off with Jill, and we started getting ready. Now the plan was, again, Justine was gonna, labor in the hot tub, and we were gonna have this whole relaxing experience, and it was gonna be this home birth. That is not what happened. She made it to the living room floor on all 4s and was in labor. It was happening. So she'd have a contraction, and I'd run upstairs and I'd get the disposable chucks and put them down on the ground. And then she'd have a contraction, and I'd run upstairs and get all the tools that we needed and get it all ready. And what's interesting is during this whole process, again, Justine was incredibly calm. I was incredibly calm. In fact, I remember this, between contractions, I was looking at my BlackBerry to see if I had any emails, because it was like this. She was born for this. This was ready for her to happen. She can make it happen. And we, I lost my train of thought, and then we, oh shoot. I'm gonna check. Right, that's true. There are things that happened that night that I would never want to do again. That's true. Let's just say they involve bodily fluids. But anyway, we don't have to go there. So I remember as I was kind of walking back from maybe getting her a glass of water or something, she said, oh my gosh, she's coming. And I said, no, she's not coming. The midwife's not here yet. And I walked around to the other side, and she was crowning, which means the baby's coming. So I am sitting there thinking, okay, wait a second. The midwife is not here. But what's interesting is that, again, we were both pretty calm about it. So, Issa's head popped out, right? And fortunately, I knew what to do. I squeegeed out her nose to make sure there's no fluid in there. I kind of checked to make sure that the umbilical cord wasn't around her neck. And next thing, her shoulder pops out. And then I gave her a little tug, and her whole body pops out. And she was perfect, but she was a little slippery. And she may have made it onto the floor, the rug. But to this day, Issa will tell you that I dropped her, which is somewhat true, but not totally true. Anyway, I picked her up, this beautiful thing, and I looked at her, and right off the bat, I knew this was going to be the best thing in my life. And it's true. And okay, now I'm choking up, so I lost my train of thought again. So, so the midwife, so Issa was born at 10:13 a.m. The midwife came at 10:15 a.m. When she walked in the door, she said to me, the first thing I said to her in my very zen-like, relaxed state was, "Do we get a discount?" She said no. And she helped me to cut Issa's cord. I picked her up, this beautiful thing. I looked at her. She was perfect. Her little toes, her little body, her little face, and I knew that we were connected. And to this day, I was going to say the fates and my wife Justine knew I needed to have a daughter, and I do, and her name is Issa. Okay, thank you. All right, hold on. I'm going to introduce you. Hold on. I'm going to introduce you, Eric. Okay, watch it. Watch it. Hold on.
Dude, you went like 17 minutes long.
I know. Okay. Okay. All right. Hold on a sec. Okay. Woo! I can do what the hell I want. This is my thing. Okay. This is Eric. He is a friend of mine. He is an advertising executive for an enterprise software company. He loves snowboarding, live music, cheating at cards. He's in our poker group. He cheats all the time. And he's grateful for his long-suffering wife and son. At least his dog still likes him. This is Eric. Let me get your things on here. Hold on a sec. Let me get your awards up.
All right. Can you hear me? What? Testing. Should I use this? This?
Okay, hold on a sec.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But,
Okay, you're up.
okay, so let's take 1989. I'm up in northern Michigan at Lake Charlevoix. And me and my crew are wrapping up the summertime. All the children have gone home from summer camp, but there's 1 week left. It's basically a spa. So these moms come up there, and we're the staff. We feed them their meals. We entertain them at night with bingo. We take them and play volleyball. We go in the walk-in and we shotgun beers. And one night we decide, we're cleaning out the cabins. We got to go through. We got to put the boats up, bring in the docks. And I'm going through the cabins, and in the cook's cabin, I find a 6-foot tall rectangular box. And so I open, it's got a graphics inside of it. If you know, you know. So we take the graphics to the cabin where we take the graphics to the cabin we're staying in. And, it's 6 foot tall. So you have to get on the upper bunk, and then somebody has to be on the lower bunk to operate the carburetor. And so we're doing this for a while. I think it's a lot of fun. We decide we're going to go into the walk. Kyle, I see you. And I go into the walk-in, and we get a bunch of raw eggs. And so we're like, this is going to be fun. We're going to egg some cars on Boyne City Road, the road that connects Boyne City and Charlevoix. So we got there about 10, 11 at night, and we start throwing raw eggs at cars. Boom, boom, boom. We're laughing. I'm laughing. Got Kaufman's laughing. Fishman's laughing. Jaffe's laughing. We're laughing. All of a sudden, we hear, "So you boys think you're pretty funny." And one of the cars that we had egged, unbeknownst to us, had pulled ahead and pulled off the road really quietly and kind of gotten out of the car and walked back. And these guys were basically standing across the street from us. So I turned to my buddy Fishman. I was like, "Fish, we got to get out of here." And he's gone. He's running. He's running fast. So I'm like, "Oh my God." So I turn and I'm running and I'm looking and I'm running and I'm looking and I'm running and I get clothesline. I'm not talking like metaphorically, like somebody close. I'm talking like there's a metal clothesline and it hits me right above my eye here and takes my feet out from underneath me. So I'm just basically like flat on my back, but I'm so adrenalized, sure that these guys are probably like townies who are going to kick our ass, that I get up and I keep running to the cabin. I slam the door behind me and I'm breathing hard. I'm like, "Fish, I don't think they followed me." And so, cut right there, 1989, boom, smash cut. 6 years later, let's call it 1995, maybe 96. And I'm now a professional. I wear suit and tie, work in business, and, I've gotten out of the egg throwing thing. And I would like to go egging tonight, though, Kyle. We can talk about it later. And we're out in a metro Detroit metro population of 4.5 million people, let's call it. We're out in Royal Oak and we're drinking beers, and we bump into these guys and we get to talking like you do in Michigan. Everyone's very friendly. And we're talking and they're like, hey, you guys grow up around here? We're like, yeah, for sure. They're like, you guys ever go up to northern Michigan? We're like, yeah, we used to work at a camp up there, Camp Seagull on Lake Charlevoix. No way. Craziest thing. One night, we're coming back from a show at the Sportsman in Boyne City. We just saw Jelly Roll. We love Jelly Roll. Yeah, we saw Jelly Roll. We're driving, and we think like people are throwing rocks at the car. Things are hitting the car, so we get out of the car, and we're like, oh my God, somebody egged our car. Like, oh my God. That was us. We egged your car. And they're like, they didn't kick our ass. And it was just some kind of crazy coincidence. It was like a miracle. I don't know what else to call it.
Well done. All right, that was nice. That was a good one. All right. So next, I'm going to let you put that on you. Okay, next we have Penny. This is Penny Lane. Yes, that is her name. Penny Lane from Sycamore Park. Former software salesperson, currently a writer of a memoir called Redeemed, a memoir of a stolen childhood, a poignant journey of surviving a calamitous childhood and the trials and triumphs of forging one's own identity. Coming out in June at a bookstore near you. Let me get your thing up and then.
Okay. All right. Hello. I don't know if I need this. Do I need it? Yeah? Okay. Yes. I have a loud New York voice, so my husband tells me all the time. Is anybody here from New York? Anybody from Queens? Anybody from Long Island? No? Long Island. Long Island. I'm going to pay attention to you. Okay. Do you know where Hicksville is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Here it comes. Okay. So does anybody know how impulsive 14-year-olds are? Yeah. Impulsive 14-year-olds? Excellent. I'm so glad to hear that. So I was an impulsive 14-year-old. One day on a Monday night, my stepmother, who I really didn't like, says to me, Penny, tomorrow you're going to do wah, 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 wah. And I said to myself, no, I'm not. She said, you're going to do wah, 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 wah tomorrow. And I said, no, I'm not. And I said, but you don't really talk back. This is to Eastern European parents. I just said that in my head. So what does an impulsive 14-year-old do when they don't want to do something? They don't want to go to high school and do this thing that their mom told them to do. Well, you run away, right? I mean, that's what you do. You don't have any options. You're powerless. So I decided around 6 o'clock on Monday night, I'm going to run away tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact. It's November. Does anybody remember how cold it is in New York City in November? It's really cold. Knives are shooting at you. It's windy. So here's another thing I didn't like about my childhood. I was made to ride a bicycle to school. Now today it's cool to ride a bicycle to school. It was not cool in Queens in the 70s to ride a bicycle to school. Just letting you know. So we're on a split shift. I leave home at around 10 in the morning. I get on my bicycle, which is locked up in the basement of our tenement building. It's not really a tenement. I call it a tenement because it makes a good story. So I get on my bicycle. I don't have gloves. Nobody wears a helmet in the 70s. I don't have a scarf. I don't have a hat. I have a backpack that keeps me warm. It has got books in it. A couple of apples. Get on my bike, and I decide to myself, I remember seeing a Sears department store in Hicksville, Long Island, off the LIE on the way to our summer house in Ronkonkoma. Anybody even hear of Ronkonkoma? No, it's a hole in the wall. Nobody goes to Ronkonkoma. Everybody goes to the Hamptons or Fire Island. Nobody goes. So we get in our, so by the way, for those people who know me, there's a bunch of people who know me here. People who know me know that I get lost in Safeway parking lot, definitely in IKEA, and any parking garage in Berkeley. I get lost. So I have no sense of direction. And I decide I'm going to ride my bike from Queens to Hicksville, Long Island, and I've never done this before. My father's driven us everywhere all my life. I've never even taken a bus. So I don't know how to get there. And somehow, miracle number one, it takes me about 4 or 5 hours, but I make it to Hicksville, Long Island. And I get to this department store that's in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. It's somewhere off the LIE. And I get off my bike and I say, great, I made it here. I have no plan. I have not thought ahead. I have about $7 in my pocket. I have no food. It is now dark out and it is really cold. Put my bike, I lock it up on a telephone pole behind a building, and I look, and there's a couple of stores. There's a Corvette's. Anybody remember Corvette's department store? Corvette's department store. There's a grocery store. There's a Sears. You can see Sears from the freeway. So I find a grocery store, and what do kids from New York eat? We eat bagels. I buy a few bagels. So I eat bagels, and bagels are easy because they're cheap, and they go in your backpack, and they don't crumble, right? It's easy to eat. So I'm cold. So I go inside the Sears, and I don't know if you guys have ever been in these old-fashioned department stores where you walk in the door, and the heat is coming right at you at the door. You get blown. It feels really good. I'm walking around, and Christmas music is playing because it's November. It's November 7th. And Christmas music is playing, and the store is warm, and it's fun. It's all lit up, and there's parents, and there's children, and I walk around, and here's the jewelry section, and then here's a candy. You guys remember they used to sell candy in department stores in little bags, like really fancy candy. No, it's before your time. It's like a long time ago. And I can walk around, I look at all the clothes, I look at the furniture, and it's getting late. And I'm walking around, all of a sudden I'm in the tool department. I'm like, tools? We live in an apartment building. We don't have tools. And then I see garden supplies. Now, lawn mowers, lawn furniture, we don't have any of that stuff. And then I see garage supplies. Like, what do people have in garages? What do I know? I live in a tenement, right? We don't have a garage. There's these big, big, giant, what we call now a wardrobe. I would call it a wardrobe. And I see this silver thing, and I stand next to it, and I look up, and it's taller than me. And I'm like, I'm like 5'6". I look at the wardrobe is taller than me, and the door's open. I look inside. There's enough room for two of me in there. And I look around, and there's nobody there. And I look around, and there's nobody there. And I think, can I sleep here tonight? So I walk around again. I walk through the sewing machines. I walk through the washing machines. I walk through the tools. Walk through the lawnmowers. I come back to the storage. I haven't seen a single person in the whole 5 minutes. And then there's an announcement. The store will be closing in 10 minutes. So what do? What would you do? I got in the wardrobe, and I closed the door. And I sit down, and I take my shoes off. I don't know why I took my shoes off. It's just fun to do, right? I took my shoes off, and I sat in the wardrobe. And pretty soon, I hear, store's closing. And I wait a few minutes, and the lights click. And I can see the lights, and the lights are dim. Now the store's dark, and I'm like, I don't have a watch. What do? Back in the day, nobody has a phone. Nobody has a phone. We don't even have watches. Don't have a map, all that stuff. Okay, so I'm in the store closes, and I wait, I don't know how long, because I'm a kid, I'm 14, I'm impulsive, I have no idea, and I get out of the wardrobe, and I look this way, and I look that way, and the store is completely dark, and I look out the window, and the parking lot is completely dark, and I'm locked in a store at night, and I'm like, this is kind of cool. So miracle number 2 is that I hid out in that department store for 5 nights. 5 nights before security found me. And I had more fun than I had ever had previous to that day. Now, I can't tell you what I did because you're going to have to buy and read my book to find out the rest of the story. But that's my second miracle, is that I lasted for 5 days in a department store in New York City after riding my bike from Jackson Heights, Queens to Hicksville, Long Island, and made it to tell the story. Thank you.
Good job. Sean, you want to go? All right.
I have some more parts if anybody wants. I told you it was in sale.
Okay, next up we have Sean. Okay, Sean is a fellow Old Mill School dad. We have quite a few of you guys out here tonight. Let's give it up for Old Mill back in the day. Yeah. He's a neighbor in the woods, a cloud architect, whatever that means, and after decades of telling the same stories to his kids, he thought he'd try one out on you. So here is Sean. I'm going to just hook you up here, Sean. There we go.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so this is the one true unexplained miracle that happened to me in my life, and as a bonus, my miracle comes with a revelation. It also comes my miracle comes with a revelation, and it also comes with an NPR disclaimer that this story acknowledges the existence of sex. So it's the mid '80s. I'm about 15 or 16. It's in Seattle, and my buddy Drew and I are waiting outside a cafe on a sidewalk, and there's a phone there. So we decide to call a friend on the payphone. Put the quarter in, dial, nothing. Doesn't go through. Hang up, and the phone doesn't give our quarter back. So this phone's no fun. So we keep waiting. After a few minutes, the phone rings. Pick it up, nothing. Hang up. Happens again, same thing. But the third time, I pick up and I listen. This phone is fun. Hey, Drew, it's the phone sex line. It called us. So for context, this was pre-TiVo and pre-Netflix. And our penance for watching David Letterman was a stream of late-night TV commercials. So Blue Blocker Miracle Shades, anyone remember those? Trucker Song compilation cassettes. And phone sex lines. And believe me or not, I was devoted to giving my money to none of these things. So 16-year-old me was delighted that real live girls really did want to talk to me right now. After years of holding my line, negotiating from a position of strength, the other side had caved, and they just called me for free. Now, even if I had been into suspension of disbelief for only $1.95 a minute, this wasn't the time or the place for that. So I listened for a minute, give the phone to Drew so he can bear witness to our miracle. We hang up. They called back. They really did want to talk to us. And it happened a few more times. And after a while, they gave up. Maybe it was the rejection. Maybe they realized that our joy was not so much about their product as about the validation of our worth from on high that they had called us. But anyway, we had our miracle, and I had my 25 cents worth of a story. But for those who know me, I'm analytical, and I thought about this. I love the story over the years, but the miracle part, it bothered me a little. So probably about 15 years later, I'm reading a book about Kevin Mitnick, who was a famous early hacker, and famous because he got seriously busted by the FBI, and not a real hacker, not the kind that hung out with Ali Sheedy. And he had started his career doing a thing called phone phreaking, which is fairly simple to explain. So you had an old touch-tone phone bolted to your kitchen wall. Buttons on the phone make different tones that tell the central phone switch to do things. Now, operators had special phones with other buttons that did operator things and made their own tones. And the phone phreakers had figured out by dumpster diving outside of telco offices what those tones were. So there's one famous phone phreaker called Captain Crunch, who got his moniker because he figured out that the free Captain Crunch bosun's whistle from his cereal could make some of those tones. Jobs and Wozniak, before they made the Apple I, sold a thing called a blue box that made those tones. And those tones, to be clear, the operator things they could do were make an international call for free or get a phone sex line to call a payphone. So I think there's the revelation. Now back on that sidewalk, That cafe was across the street from an apartment building with windows looking down on us. So while we were, basking in our glory as recipients and witnesses to this miracle, we were actually some kids' lab monkeys and entertainment for the evening. So, but as we turned to leave, the phone dropped the quarterback out. So another miracle. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to take a little break before our next 4 people. So if you guys want to grab a drink and lounge around and hang out, go for it. Put some music on. We'll have a few minutes. Okay, everybody, we're going to get started. Come on, have a seat. Here we go. Eric, I need you to be quiet now. David, you can talk later. Sit down. Okay, so up next we have Susan, who's also an improviser that I improvise with. Maybe we'll be here one day. Susan was born and raised in New York City on the 16th floor on the Upper West Side, so she's a New Yorker as well. She moved to Marin 17 years ago and has regretted it ever since. Susan performs regularly in San Rafael with Improv Marin, which I'm a part of as well, and so is Mimi, who will be speaking later, and those people over in the corner. All right, let's give it up for Susan.
Hello. I'm like super nervous, and I'm also standing in an odd position because I feel like I want to make sure everyone can hear me.
We can move.
Yeah.
Do you want us to raise?
No, I think
It's good. You're good.
You can tell me
You're
if
perfect.
I need to adjust anything. But I've been studying stand-up a little bit, and I've heard that stand-ups, if they, when they do their very first set ever, it always goes really well, because if you get up and you're like, it's my first time ever doing stand-up, people are like, woo, and they love it. I'm not doing stand-up tonight, but and it's everyone's first time doing the FLY, but thank you. So I'm here to tell you a story that starts with something that happened to me on May 28th, 2002, which was a long time ago. I was thinking about this, it was only 9 months after 9/11. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. It was 9 months after 9/11, which was in 2001. And it was May 28th, 2002. I was in New York City, and I was with my parents. We were going to the Ambassador Theater on Broadway to see the play Top Dog, Underdog by Susan Roy Parks. Any big Susan Roy Parks fans out there? Probably not. It was a great play. And we were walking towards the theater, and there were a couple other people walking towards us, and they were very excited, and they were talking to each other, and they were kind of looking over their shoulders, and they were like, it's the guy from Apollo 13! It's the guy from Apollo 13! And they're looking back. And I'm a very celebrity-obsessed person in a sense. Like, I don't know why. I mean, I think a lot of people are, right? Like, I don't know what's so amazing about celebrities that is so compelling. But I was, I don't even know if I'd even seen Apollo 13. It came out a few years before that. But I was like, oh, who's from Apollo 13? Where are they? And I'm looking around. And we arrived to the theater, and standing in front of the theater, wearing a leather jacket, talking on a cell phone, which at the time, you need to say you're a celebrity, right, because it's 2002, is Steve Buscemi. And by the way, as most of you probably know, Steve Buscemi was not in the know Steve Buscemi takes the subway or not, but they're in that momentary pause in between the conversation that just ended and whatever they're about to do. And that is my opportunity. And I dive into his face, well, no, but I run up to him and I say, excuse me, I don't mean to be a pain in the ass, but I just wanted to say I really love your work. And he reaches his hand out and he looks me right in the eye and he shakes my hand and he says, thanks. And I was just, my brain almost exploded out of my head. I was so happy. And then he turns around with his friend and they start to walk away. And just as he's stepping off the curb, I say, I hope you direct another movie, because he had directed a movie a couple years before that I had seen. And he, as he's stepping off the curb, he stops and he turns towards me and he smiles and he says, me too. And then he leaves. And I was like, oh my God, that was the most unbelievable interaction I've ever had in my life. No, honestly, I was just blown away. I was obsessed. It was really like that painting, that Michelangelo painting, you know, where the hand of God comes down and touches the man. It was like that for me. Like, I was so inspired. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I realized, like, you know, he directed a film. I can direct a film. I'm going to direct a film about that moment. So I did. I wrote a script. I wrote a 5-page script about the experience, and in which, you know, I tell the whole story about what happened. And then I realized, like, I can't convey this, right? Like, I mean, I'm telling you guys this story. I can't really convey to you what that moment was for me. And so the film is really about my obsession with that moment and wanting to convey that moment to someone else. So I wrote the script. This was back in 2003 that I shot it. So, you know, I had to rent equipment. It was like a much bigger deal then to make a little 5-minute movie than it would be now. And I got all these friends to help me, which, you know, this is a crazy idea. And they're like, yeah, sure, you know, I'll take a whole weekend to help you film this. And then, you know, in the screenplay, like, I'm trying to recreate the moment. So I try to find, like, guys who look like Steve Buscemi to reenact this moment, you know. So I actually cast, like, 4 guys that, you know, I did a casting call, like, who looks like Steve Buscemi, and I got these guys to do this film. So we shot the whole thing, and then I got married, and then I got pregnant, and then I started having kids. Well, I had 2 kids. I started my family, and I never finished the film. And so, you know, and I was thinking, like, okay, good story has to have a good ending, right? So, and I never finished the film. So I've been thinking about that a lot since I wanted to tell this story here, actually. I started thinking about that film again, and, like, maybe I will finish editing it. But I also just thought, like, what happened to Steve Buscemi? Like, I know a lot has happened in my life in the last 22 years. Like, what happened to Steve Buscemi? Like, he got kind of more famous after that. Like, he was in Boardwalk Empire, he was in The Sopranos. But, like, I mean, what has he done in the last few years? Actually, he's going to be the principal on, like, the show Wednesday or something. I don't know. But it's like, he's not that cool anymore. And so, you
was a great story. That was Susan. One more hand for Susan. All right, our next performer is going to be Dan. Dan is, I have a thing here for Dan. I'm going to read his little thing here. Get my glasses out. Dan Murray is a Marin native. He's married and has sons at Tam High. One of his mottos is, if you're not having fun, you're not having fun. I hope you enjoy his story about his adventures in deep Baja, Mexico. He says he remembers this particular experience like it was yesterday, but it was a lifetime ago. Let's give it up for Dan. Put your words up here, Dan. Goodness, I don't know where you got that intro from. This is my first time to stand up too. So the duck said, put it on my belt. Hey, so this is a very true story about something that's very impactful for me that I've actually only told a couple of times because my partner in crime, Jeff Phillips, has told several times. So, and he and I have different recollections of the same damn story, but it's pretty darn close and all the way very scary. So I need all of you to close your eyes right now. And imagine that you drive 500 miles with a dog in a 1987 pickup truck towing a 1985 Boston Whaler that's 13 feet long with a 35 horsepower engine behind it. And you get to the border, you cross the border, and you go another 500 miles down in deep Baja, and you make a right off the next one onto a dirt road. And you go 100 miles on a washboard dirt road to the absolute tip of the western part of Baja. A little town, a little fishing village called Punta Peña. And then off that little tip is an island called Isla Natividad, which is surfing paradise. So Jeff Phillips and I had been surfing obsessed through the 90s. We went everywhere. We lived in the Great Highway, in the fog, in the schmutz, just so we could be there every time it was good. And we surfed every time it was good. And then we worked and we scrapped enough money together to go on these awesome trips. And this time we took a 6-week trip down to Isla Natividad based on Surfer Magazine photos of this mystical spot that was offshore during a southern swell in the middle of summer. So in July 1999, we loaded up the crappy little truck we bought, hitched on our boat, and drove down. And the story down is a journey in itself, but just know that we were obsessed with getting this one particular swell that we knew was in the water because of the surf forecasting models. We drove through hell. We put a new transmission in the car. We bribed the federales. We got all the way down. It was Jeff, myself, and his gorgeous dog, Idaho, who's this border collie that we just all lived in love with. She's the best. So we would get all the way down to this little place called right before it. There's a place always a Paymax to fill up all your gas tanks. Filled up all the gas tanks in this place called Bahia Tortugas, which is almost at this little tip of this place where we're going to jump off. Got there, ran out that next day, met this fantastic guy, Francisco Patron, aka Don Gato. He was the head of he was the caretaker of Abalone Cultural Center. Like they would make abalones in this tiny little fishing village. And we jumped off, took the boat out, and surfed the most amazing waves this
like little point break called Open Doors, which is this tiny little amazing corner. And we rolled out there, it was like head high, beautiful. It was like the things you dream about. I mean, honestly, you run around the world your entire life, you worry about it being flat, and going out, this Herculean effort to get to these spots, and it's perfect. And we get it perfect for 3 days. It's like these throw-me, head high, right-hand barrels, and we are just in heaven. So we come back, and day 4 comes out, and we load all the stuff up, and we've got, like, we have a little 13-foot boat, and we're going 6 miles offshore to this little island, and we're literally on the edge of Western civilization. Like, we're 100 miles from paved road, 500 miles down from a good hospital, and we were like, all right, we load food and water, like, and boots and everything in case the boat conks out, we can like get blown ashore and we'll figure it out from there. So we load this up every day, and day 4 comes out and it's dead flat. And so we try fishing and the fishing doesn't work and all this stuff. Day 5 comes out, doesn't work. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 flat days. Same thing. We are absolutely going insane. The 13th day we come out and it's a little bit of bump in the water. It's coming out of it, Boomerang, a little bit of swell. We're like, oh, this is all right. This is gonna be cool. We're getting some surf today. And we get there, and Open Doors, it's not quite working. But this other wave, Old Man's, is like a longboarder wave. It's kind of like mushy, but like, closed out and section-y. And we look at it for a long time, we're like, I go to Jeff, I got a tow rope in the whaler. Why don't we whip ourselves in with the tow rope, and we can get enough speed to get down the line, and we'll be surfing that day. It's gonna be great. So Idaho's in the boat, we're in the boat. Jeff's like, all right, you go first, and I'm like, all right, no problem. So I get in the water. I say, hit it. We get in. He pulls me up. I'm going around. We've never done this before, but we've seen it in all the magazines, like the guys in Hawaii are towing in. This, but this is not 30-foot waves. This is like head high. We're just trying to, make a little fun day of it. So he doesn't quite get me in. And I'm like, Jeff, you gotta. We talk about it. We're like, you gotta pull me like more parallel to the coast, and then at the last minute get out. So all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, this is great. So we see the sets coming in. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. And then all of a sudden, he's got me. And I let go of the tow rope. I'm in the wave, and I'm like just pumping down the line. It's so fun. It is the best. After 13 days of no surf, I'm like, this is elation. And I look up, and Jeff is surfing the wave too. 45 feet in front of me. He is trying to get over the edge of the wave, and he cannot. And he gets backed off. I'm like, oh God, this is really bad. And then he throws it eventually down to the flats and throws it up and goes completely vertical. And at that moment, I knew we were fucked. He ejects from the boat. It goes up high. The entire motor is out of the water. And when you hear a motor go from in the water to out of the water, it's like awful. The thing lands, and all of a sudden, I let go. I kick out of the wave. I see Jeff. It lands, and the boat is starting to do this ginormous, like, he has got pinned, and we don't have a little safety harness on it that they cuts the engine. And so it starts doing this enormous arc with Idaho in the boat. We are 6 miles off the deepest part in North America with a dog that we love deeply on a boat doing these giant circles. So Jeff, in an instant, grabs the tow rope, and he starts getting just sucked down, and then finally gets to the handle, and then he just burns his hands out and he drops it. And I'm like, that's awful. And then, I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me like, seriously up a creek. This is the deepest. I mean, we've gotten in trouble before, but this is deep trouble. So the boat is doing this giant, probably like 100-meter arc, and it would run by us. Run by us. And then it would hit like a wave, and it would change its azimuth, and then do this completely different trail. And we're like, what the hell are we gonna do? So I look at him, and he's like, screw it, I'm just gonna climb up the thing. So he grabs the rope again, tries to climb up it, but I noticed when he grabbed it, it slowed the boat down. I mean, it's going like 25 miles an hour. It's light, it's got a 35-mile horsepower engine, it's just whipping. But when he got on it, it slowed it a little. And so eventually I said, all right, Jeff, here's the plan. This is, I mean, I'm saying this way calmer than we were experiencing. So I said, Jeff, here's the plan. You grab the tow rope with the surfboard and you belly board it until it gets about 3/4 of the way around. And then when I give you the sign, you drop and you just drop and try to like cause this to be like a sea anchor. Slow this thing down as much as you can. And so it's going around, and I remember looking on the beach, and Isla Natividad is it's in the abalone-rich area of Baja, and there's an airport there, or airstrip, and an abalone packing plant. So there's about maybe 30 or 40 residents, and they're walking the beach, looking at these gringos like, you guys, I can't even imagine what they're thinking. These guys are just so dumb. And so I look at them, and then he's coming around on a thing, and I give him the sign, and he drops down, and all of a sudden the boat's coming, and mind you, on a 13-foot whaler, it's about 4 feet beam, which means the prop is at 2 feet. So I grab, like maybe the best shot of my life, and I grab the rail, and I'm flopping, and then I grab the other rail, flopping, and I get one leg on, and I flop onto the boat, and I turn it off, and Idaho jumps on my lap, and she is freaking freaked out, as we all are, and I'm breathing deep, and Jeff is screaming his freaking nuts off. And it is maybe the greatest moment of my entire life. Like it is a miracle that we were out there that far and nobody got hurt. And so all of a sudden I saw a wave coming in. I went out to the channel. I picked Jeff up, and we went off to this one little rock with the one little drop, and we didn't even talk all day. We just surfed and dropped and surfed and dropped, and didn't even talk about it until we got back. It was a true miracle. And so that was when Gary said, hey, you got a story about miracles? I'm like, I got one, and it's a pretty good one. Nice. So, thank you. Give it up for Dan! More than 5 minutes, but okay. All right, so our next up is Fred. And let me give you Fred's little intro, if I can find it here. Okay. Fred, a good friend, Fred. Here we go. Fred is an executive coach who is recovering after 30 years as an HR leader in tech and biotech. He lives in Alameda with his 2 kids, 2 dogs, and his lovely wife of 24 years. For fun, he swims, bikes, and runs, although not at the same time. Okay, give it up for Fred. It's important to me. Damn it. Okay, here we go. Take it away, Fred.
So, really great to see you all. I call this story Steve, the Miracle Stone. Exactly, same way I feel. So as Gary said, I'm an executive coach. I've been in corporate stuff for a number of years, and then I get a chance to start my own business. I was pretty nervous about it because you have to start from scratch and be able to build a business. And then I had this lucky break. We had this client that was already set up, another company was doing it, and they said, and you're going to get to work with Steve. And I was like, Steve's a hero. He's an icon in my business. He's not only the one who does the type of work I do, he wrote the book on it. And so I had my person call him, and we're talking about what we need to do. And he seems a little disinterested, frankly, but it's Steve, so you've got to kind of kowtow to that stuff because you know how it is. And we get off the call, and I'm like all excited for the next call, and then my friend who introduced us said, by the way, Steve's not going to do this gig with you. He's going to go on vacation. And I'm like, wow, okay. There's a close brush with Steve, and he's amazing, but it's okay. Because then I found out we got to work together for 2 months. Yes, 2 months with the special bleeding edge kind of work. And I was in conversations with him, and we were having big, heavy thoughts, and you know, coaches can really coach each other and have that sort of tight connection. So it was fabulous. And as we were doing this, we get to the end of it, I actually find out he's also the gatekeeper for future work. And so I set up an individual call with Steve. And I said, Steve, now that we're working together, I'd love to work with you. I set up an hour call to talk through what we would do together. And he said about 3 minutes in, and this is when I knew I maybe was in a little bit of trouble. He said, yeah, I tend to only work with people I know. And I was like, oh, all right, maybe the last 2 months was a little bit more difficult for me than it was for you. But I didn't give up. I thought, well, this is my chance to tell you about me. And I had that moment, I don't know, like if you're a teenager, some of you are here, see if you know this moment, where you're like trying to get into the group and you're like, well, maybe if I just tell a little bit more about me, maybe this 2 months wasn't enough. And I start talking, and as I'm talking, I feel that sense of quicksand. And I can see he's having really big thoughts like, should I go dark mode next? Or should I go light mode next? When am I going to go to this call with Fred? So after many hours or 10 minutes, I just stop. And we're like, yeah, we'll talk something. And so a year goes by. And fortunately, the business goes well. I'm feeling good about life. Isn't it great? And then he sends me a note. He wants to connect with me. And I'm like, finally. And it's a training. It's going to be in Salt Lake City. There's a fee to it for me. But anyway, I know he really wants my thought on this. I'm a leader in this world now. I've been doing this for a while. And so I get excited. I don't respond right away because you have to be clear with Steve. Like, you have to be clear. You can't just kind of say, yeah. So I was just like, I waited. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing it because I was trying to suck up to Steve. I was doing it because the content was rich and I was going to be adding to that, of course. And so then I said yes, and I went. And I went to this training. I fly to Salt Lake City. I arrived. And all of a sudden, I started to have that sinking feeling, like maybe that intimate email he sent me, he sent to other people. Maybe it wasn't really so much about me. He was just trying to make money. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I said, Gina's going to be there. Now, Gina had been on that 2-month ordeal that I'd done with Steve before. And we had been like brother and sister long lost and parted. And we were like, yes, I'm like, Gina will be super. She works for the same company as Steve. Like, we're going to connect. She'll be there in Salt. She's from Colorado. She's not going to be in Salt Lake City. And so I'm literally in the car deciding, do I just reverse out and just leave or not? And I kind of had my head on the steering wheel. I'm like, oh no. And guess who walks by my door? Gina. And I'm like, it's a sign. It's exactly, it's a miracle. Like, Gina's going to be there. It must be the right thing. So I pop out of the car. I go to the training. Steve's a little bit, I don't know, not so interested in me, but when we're there, and I know he's going to figure this out in the talent I have, and there's 30 of us, so in truth, he did send an email out to a lot of people. But we're having this great thing, and I'm about 10 minutes into about a couple hours into the training, and I get my first really painful moment. I'm like, I'm like trying to like coach someone, and I'm like, all I can think about is the pain in my back. And I'm like, what is going on? And then it passes. I'm like, okay, I just need to concentrate. I'm a little tired. I need, when you're coaching, you have to be in and focused. And about 45 minutes, it happens again. I'm like, what the hell is this going on? And so I tell Steve, because we're close. And I say, this is going on. If you notice, I'm running to the bathroom a lot. It's not about you. I'm really into this training. But I'm just feeling a little bit of pain. And then I knew there was a breakthrough moment. I had this moment where I had to like run from the training floor, run to the bathroom. I think I'm going to throw up or die or something. And Steve comes into the bathroom to check on me. It was clear he cared. He was thinking of me. Then I told him I was okay. That lasted until 3. At 3, I just had to leave and go seek medical attention. And as you can imagine, at that point, I go through 6 hours of the usual hospital stuff, and I get the news. I am going to be the proud father of a 300-meters kidney stone. That's true. Yeah. So I never had a kid birth before. I hear it's about the same. I don't know. What you can tell me. So the doctor sends me off with a nice bag of pills, anti-vomit, here's your ibuprofen, and gives me the words that we all want to hear from a doctor. You're now in the great endurance stage. So I go back to my hotel room alone, but knowing Steve's not far away if I need him. And restless night, but I now got the drugs, and I'm like, popping the pills and all the rest, and I'm like, I'm going to the second day of the training, and I'm going to be present, and I'm going to be in it. So I'm in it, and I'm staying with people, and I'm popping pills every 5 minutes, and I'm there, and I'm in it, and then we get to the final culmination of this training of coaching, which is to be trained with one other person. And by now I've got a connection with everyone in the room, and they say, pick your partner, and I turn to my left, and that person left, and I turn to my right, and that person walked up again, and I'm like, who am I going to partner with? And I look across the room, and there's Gina. And I say, Gina, it's time for us to work together. And she says, yes. So we go into a room together, and I'm about to talk about this business problem I have and my business and starting it and all this stuff. And she happens to be also a body worker. And she looks me straight in the eye and she says, what's the stone really about? And out comes the whole story of my unrequited love with Steve. And I let it out, and she says, you know what, I quit the company because of Steve and other people like him. I'm like, no way. And so she saw me and she knew me. And we finished the training. I wipe away the tears. I'm ready to go out into the room. And she says to me one last thing. She said, Fred, this training's going to end. You're going to pass this stone, and it's going to be painless. And I'm like, really? All right, this is all very weird. Let's hope for it. So we get back in the room, we say goodbye, everyone's packed up their stuff, they're on the flights, they're leaving, and I'm left. It's me and Steve. So I go up to Steve, and I think I'm going to have some witty thing about the connection and how we're going to build and all this emotional stuff we've talked about, and he gives me the lamest handshake that a 6'2" man could give to me. And I turn away, and I go to the bathroom, and I pass my stone without any pain. And I walk out of the building, and I said, it's a miracle. I've passed my Steve. Give it up for Fred!
I'm not signing these, but I just want to know everybody, it's a little longer than 5 minutes. It's okay. It's okay. So I just need a little help here. I couldn't rack my brain. Help me, sports people. When you kind of make a call on the fly, what is it called? When you change your call? An audible. So Mimi's doing an audible. Okay? I'm not going to show you her words because I don't know. Because she's doing an audible. She had a story. She's changing her mind. Mimi, let's make it happen. Okay. Let's make it happen.
So great. I love tonight. I had a story, and then I decided that's dumb. I don't want to tell the story anymore. And so I was going to tell a different amazing story because I'm sure, like so many others, there are so many things that we are grateful for in our lives that can be equatable to so many amazing miracles, both small and large. And so, my story begins with a question, like most great adventures do. Should we go flying today, right? And so I worked at the YMCA in Marin for about maybe 8 years, and I have a coworker, and she her dad has a small plane, and there's actually an airport over in Lucas Valley, which I did not know until that done. And so I was like, I don't know who says no to that. I mean, that sounds like a fantastic way to spend a day, you know. And so she was like, let me call my dad and see if it's possible. And so we zip over there, you know. I was, you know, so excited, right? I had like just started dating someone, and I was like, I can't wait till I tell them that I'm just like flying today. I was like, just more excited about the idea that I could tell somebody that like I was, you know, just gonna do something that I didn't expect to do that day. So her dad shows up. They have a 2-seater plane, insert the name of those type of planes, and this other gentleman, you know, shows up, and he was gonna be flying with me. And so I was like, hello, insert name of person. I'm really bad at names. Just insert a good name, right? Like a good, tough, you know, flying guy plane name. Todd, thank you. Or Tom. Todd or Tom, however you want to go with your story. We take off from Lucas Valley, and we're flying over to, I think, Petaluma was our first stop. I didn't know there was an airport there. We stopped there. We're like having lunch. I feel like so cool and excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like part of like some like insider team, you know. I didn't even know like these airports existed, let alone being in these kind of planes. I was like, oh my gosh, like I am so cool. I've arrived, right? And they're like, okay, we're gonna go from Petaluma up to Santa Rosa, right, to that little airport too. And so we head up that way, and at that point, you know, both of them have been flying planes for a long time, and they were like, let's have a little fun. And I was like, I don't know what that means, you know, but like I'm game, right? I'm up for this adventure. So they were like, let's do some like flips. Let's do some like dog flips. Let's game it up. And I'm like, yes, right? The answer is always yes. I mean, also, I wasn't going to say no. This guy was flying a plane that I'd never met before in my life. Right, so we're now, and it's beautiful, right? It's a beautiful day. The sun was out. It was blue sky. There were these 2 little 2-seater planes flying right next to us, and you're going to see my friend, you know, in the seat, you know, and she goes, whoop, and ready to see her turn, and they start flipping, and we start flipping, and we're like flipping and upside down and doing these like barrel rolls, and I was like, oh my gosh, today could not get better. Like, what a day. What a day, right? So we come back into Petaluma, we have lunch, and we're hanging out, and I was like, we're already recapping, right? Like, the day hasn't even ended, and we're like recapping all the details of the fun stuff, and so, you know, we're doing the last leg from Petaluma back to Lucas Valley, and the pilot was like, hey, do you want to fly the plane? You know, like, what are these, like, you know, flying plane devices? And I was like, yes, like 100%, right? This is so great, right? And so he's like, you don't have to move it much. You know, he's trying to give me some, like, you know, pointers. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Like, this is, like, what a treat, what a dream. Like, no one's gonna even believe this story, okay? So there are the other planes, you know, in front of us, and we're cruising behind, and I'm just like beyond excited. At this point, you know, Todd/Tom is like my best friend. I can't wait to come back again tomorrow, probably every day, you know. And so I was like, this is it. Like, I've arrived. You know, this is gonna be my new life, you know. And so they're coming in, and they're slowly coming to a land, and we're slowly, you know, getting lower and lower, and I start hearing this noise, right? Which is never, you don't hear any noise on a plane, right? In particular, a small plane. And you don't want to have the pilot make a face like this, right? Like that's one of those faces that you're just like, I don't know what that means, but it's probably not the right face to be making as we're slowly getting closer to the earth, right? And so he's like, I'm not sure what's going on, but our landing gear isn't opening. And I was like, well, you know, like, what was just like, what? Like, where's my level of, like, responsibility, or, like, should I panic? Like, what's the, like, you're a pilot, like, you do this, like, you probably practice these things, like, you know, like, crash landing in water and things like that. And he's like, I mean, I've never had to do anything like this before. And I'm like, that's all, don't say that out loud, right? I'm already, like, hearing terrible noises in a tiny plane getting closer to Earth, right? And so he's like, I think we're just gonna crash land this. And I'm like, do you put your knees up? Like, what's the it slowly, like, right, like, my eyes were open the whole time, right? And then it just kind of stops. He looks over at me with kind of this, like, face, like, oh my God, right? And I'm like, best day ever. Best day ever. Nailed today, right? He's probably sitting there being like, that was like $1 million fucking dollars, you know, or more. I don't know what clothes cost, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what a day, what a treat, right? I get out, the fire department's arrived, you know, and so it was just, you know, the whole thing was just, it was a miracle. There's so many things that I'm sure happened throughout our lives, throughout, like, so many, both big and small, and I was just, I felt like calling on it, so.
I'll take the microphone.
Give it for me.
Okay, we have come to the end. We have done our first inaugural The Fly. We're going to do it again. That is, if you do the QR code, our next session is going to be Out of Bounds. The theme, Out of Bounds. If you do that, it'll send me an email, and I'll know that you're interested in trying this out. But I want to thank all the wonderful people that were here today. I'm going to try to name everybody. We had Sean over there.